Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're delving deep into the underbelly of fame, fortune, and power. That's because we're looking at public scandals, and we're starting with some forgotten celebrity controversies.
I'm sorry, I really don't. What are we doing?
Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 20 celeb scandals everyone forgot happened.
Enough. Let's get on with the future.
For this list, we'll be looking at incidents that famous people were involved in that have largely faded into the background. We will be excluding incidents that occurred before a celebrity became famous. Do any of these scandals make you look at a celebrity differently? Number 20, Ted Danson's offensive roast.
Now, you looking for something special today?
Yeah, your head on a stick.
This is gonna be a tough sale.
The star of Cheers became big tabloid news in the early 90s when he became romantically involved with Whoopi Goldberg. When she was the subject of a Friars Club comedy roast, he decided to join in to make fun of his partner. During Danson's incredibly shocking turn at the mic, he appeared in minstrel makeup, ate watermelon, and repeatedly said the N-word. Most of the crowd was reportedly stunned into silence. After the performance, Danson earned a public condemnation from New York Mayor David Dinkins, and Montel Williams resigned from the Friars Club. But Danson survived the controversy. Not only did he continue to find success on television, but he even earned a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Number 19, David O. Russell mistreats multiple people. A series of dark stories have made it apparent that David O. Russell is a difficult director to work with.
No, it just makes me just want to feel like just never have that kind of vibe ever.
While filming Three Kings, the director allegedly assaulted an extra for not doing a stunt and headbutted George Clooney.
It's happening! Accident, stay cool.
These reports were followed by another dark news headline about his behavior. In December 2011, Russell's niece accused him of touching her inappropriately. The director responded by saying that everything that occurred between them was consensual. After he avoided any formal charges, Russell's career continued as if nothing had happened. He even earned 2 Best Director Oscar nominations following the allegations for his work on Silver Linings Playbook and American Hustle. Number 18, Jude Law cheats. While working on the movie Alfie, Jude Law met and fell in love with his co-star Sienna Miller.
Thank the Lord. A Christmas miracle.
The two were quickly engaged, but their relationship was put in jeopardy when Law was caught cheating on Miller with his children's nanny. To make matters worse, it was apparently one of his own children that caught his act of infidelity. After Law publicly apologized, his relationship with Miller continued for a year before they broke things off completely. Despite being big news in the tabloids, the actor's career didn't suffer much from the infidelity news. Law's career continued to thrive with roles in big franchises like Fantastic Beasts and Sherlock Holmes. Number 17, Bruno Mars gets charged with possession.
You're just so talented.
Stop it,
you're
Ellen!
Amazing, and you're adorable, and...
The incident in question took place in September 2010 at the Las Vegas Hard Rock Hotel and Casino, where the 24-karat magic singer was apparently caught with 2.6 grams of an illegal substance.
It was enough to warrant felony charges, but he was able to make his legal troubles go away by performing 200 hours of community service, paying a $2,000 fine, and undergoing drug counseling. Mars said the experience has made him a better person and has expressed a desire to put it behind him.
And I think it's something that I moved past, and I'm hoping everyone else I come across will move past it too.
Fortunately for the singer, no one's really ever felt the need to bring it up since.
Number 16, Halle Berry leaves a car accident. In 2000, Berry allegedly ran through a red light and hit another vehicle. While the person she hit suffered a broken wrist and minor injuries, the actress got a serious cut on her head. Instead of waiting at the scene for medical attention, Berry left without checking with the other driver. The actress received stitches and reportedly lost all memory of what happened.
The screen beauty needed some 20 stitches to close a cut in her forehead from Wednesday's accident. The DA is determining whether or not felony hit-and-run charges will be filed against her for leaving the scene. The only comment from Berry so far is through her publicist, who says Halle is taking the situation very seriously.
But neither fact prevented her from facing a felony hit-and-run charge. Her legal troubles were reduced to a misdemeanor after she reported the accident to police. Along with the probation, Berry was fined nearly $14,000 and ordered to 200 hours of community service. The actress was able to shake negative press and continue to land more roles. Number 15. Jimmy Page's inappropriate relationship. Perhaps the most popular guitarist of all time, Jimmy Page found great success with Led Zeppelin and has twice been inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. But he also made the news for a very controversial relationship he had in the 1970s. While the band was on tour in 1972, he got into contact with a young girl named Lori Maddox.
At the time, I was a teen model, and so that's how I met Jimmy, actually, because he'd seen my photograph and wanted to meet me.
After they met, they started dating, and she followed him across the country. Page largely kept their partnership out of the public eye because of her young age. But even after the nature of their relationship became clear, the musician continued to find success. Number 14. Ashton Kutcher's infidelity.
You haven't think
I just ripped the crotch out of my pants, Jimmy.
Rumors came out in 2011 that Kutcher had cheated on then-wife Demi Moore with 22-year-old administrative assistant Sarah Leal, something that Leal has said was true. When Demi announced her separation from Ashton later that year, she gave the impression that Ashton's alleged infidelity was part of the reason. Since their split, Kutcher seems to be living happily with Mila Kunis, whom he married in 2015. Though others rarely bring it up, he didn't forget those rumors. During a speech he gave in 2017 at Drake University while accepting an award based on good character, Kutcher said they helped build his character.
Character comes when those magazines tear you apart for something you may or may not have done, and you gotta go out and perform tomorrow, with everyone looking at you like you might be an adulterer.
Number 13. Martha Stewart's insider trading. Martha Stewart will always be remembered for her business savvy and various media ventures, but there's also going to be a major asterisk beside her name. Back in December of 2001, Stewart sold nearly 4,000 shares of Imclone Systems stock after getting inside information from her broker. By selling her stocks before the price fell, she saved herself nearly $50,000 in value. Stewart was eventually caught taking advantage of privileged financial information and found guilty of various felonies.
I don't want to be defined by a moment in time. That was a moment, it's past, I don't think about it anymore.
After spending 5 months in prison, she rebounded and began to rebuild her reputation as a personality. Although Stewart's jail time is occasionally treated as a punchline, it hasn't held her back from new opportunities. Number 12. Robert Downey Jr.'s personal struggles.
The dark periods you entered, and taking drugs and drinking and all of that. And I just wondered whether, you think you're free of all of that?
For many years in the late 90s and early 2000s, Downey was considered a rather tragic figure in Hollywood. He was a promising actor that was battling a series of personal issues. Downey Jr. was in and out of jail for multiple offenses and had a substance use disorder. After he was publicly seen as unreliable, his work opportunities started to disappear. Downey Jr. was even fired from his Golden Globe-winning role on Ally McBeal. After the actor became sober in 2003, he was able to start turning everything around. Just 5 years later, he starred in a little movie called Iron Man. The success of that movie and his tour through the Marvel Universe allowed him to put the past behind him.
What's going on here?
Let's face it, this is not the worst thing you've caught me doing.
Number 11. Hugh Grant solicits sex. One of the most surefire ways for a celebrity to make tabloid headlines is to be caught in a compromising position with a sex worker. Hugh Grant learned that firsthand in the summer of 1995. Back then, he was arrested in Los Angeles after soliciting services from a sex worker.
It's not exactly a
a long-term relationship, is it?
The actor was charged with lewd conduct and had to pay $1,180 in fines. His career as the king of romantic comedies looked like it could have been in danger. However, an appearance on The Tonight Show with Jay Leno where Grant was upfront about his bad behavior was said to have helped rehabilitate his image.
What the hell were you thinking?
Number 10. Paul McCartney's narcotics arrest. For such a huge celebrity, Paul McCartney has remained consistently robust and has rarely found himself in trouble. But in January 1980, McCartney got in serious trouble while visiting Japan. His plan to perform with his band Wings was thrown out the window when he was caught at the airport carrying half a pound of a certain drug. McCartney was hit with some serious smuggling charges and faced a potential prison sentence of 7 years.
After several hours of questioning, the singer was taken away in handcuffs.
But after spending just 9 days in a narcotics detention center, he was quietly released and deported from the country. It was quite big news at the time, but what do people remember? Penny Lane or the time McCartney was caught smuggling substances into Japan? Exactly. Number 9. Manny Pacquiao's offensive remarks. There's an argument to be made that Filipino boxer Manny Pacquiao is the GOAT. He retired with a record of 62 wins and 8 losses, and won numerous world titles, including 3 WBO welterweight belts. But his public image was mired in controversy in 2016 when he was filmed making grossly homophobic remarks on Filipino television. His words caused international outrage, and Nike even ended their prosperous relationship with the boxer. However, his statements didn't end his career. Pacquiao continued boxing consistently until 2021 and won various welterweight titles. He also served as a senator of the Philippines until June 2022.
I apologize if I did something bad.
Number 8. Caitlyn Jenner's fatal car accident.
Shortly before officially coming out as transgender, Caitlyn Jenner was in the news in February 2015 for a different reason.
Images from California's Pacific Coast Highway show a grisly scene.
Jenner was part of a multiple car collision that took the life of 69-year-old Kim Howe when Jenner's SUV ran into the back of Howe's Lexus. An investigation didn't find negligence on Jenner's part, so no criminal charges were made against her. News of the tragedy faded away after Jenner came out as transgender in April of 2015, and she's since become an outspoken public figure within the LGBTQ+ community.
It is so wonderful to be here tonight.
Jenner isn't the only celebrity to have been involved in a fatal car crash. In 1987, Matthew Broderick killed a mother and adult daughter in a head-on collision in Northern Ireland.
Number 7. David Letterman's behind-the-scenes scandals.
In 2009, a 48 Hours producer tried to blackmail David Letterman for $2 million over Letterman having sex with employees. Letterman didn't pay off the man, and as a result, the secret got out.
And I had to tell them all of the creepy things that I have done that were going to be... Well, now, why is that funny?
Letterman addressed the issue in October, and a couple of days later he apologized to his wife and his co-workers for what he put them through.
No, I'm not having sex with these women. Those episodes are in the past. So my apologies to subjecting them to that vulnerability.
At the time of the scandal, there was some concern that Letterman was using his position of power as a way to pressure employees into sleeping with him, but that has since blown over. Today, scandal and all, Letterman is still mostly just thought of as one of the great late-night comedy hosts.
I feel better about myself. My relationship with my wife is never better.
Number 6. Chris Brown's assaults.
This rapper's got tons of dirty items on his laundry list.
Chris Brown is out on bail following an arrest for assault with a deadly weapon.
The most infamous was his 2009 arrest following his assault of then-girlfriend Rihanna. He was charged, given a plea deal, and publicly apologized, but it wouldn't be his last offense.
What followed included a scuffle with Drake's entourage, an altercation with Frank Ocean, an alleged 2016 LAPD standoff after he supposedly chased a woman out of his house, and a 2019 aggravated assault accusation in Paris.
Charges either were dropped, weren't pressed, or Brown was released on bail in these cases.
Prosecutors in Paris are saying Chris Brown has been released without charge.
Though, through it all, he's continued to make music and tour. Celeb still appear to be on his team, and these events seem to have had little impact on the public's overall perception of him.
Throughout that time, I was incarcerated. I had different things that was going on, so.
Number 5, Winona Ryder's shoplifting scandal. One of the biggest stars of the 80s and 90s, Winona Ryder found great success starring in movies like Beetlejuice and Edward Scissorhands. But her career cratered in 2001 when she was caught stealing over $5,000 worth of stuff from Saks Fifth Avenue. Ryder claimed that her judgment had been affected by prescription painkillers. She avoided prison but was hit with nearly 500 hours of community service and 3 years probation. In the immediate aftermath, she struggled to reach the level of acclaim she had before. Ryder wouldn't make a major comeback until Stranger Things in 2016. Her celebrated performance on the show helped wipe the slate clean and allowed her to flourish with a new generation of viewers.
Do you understand me?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, and good day.
Number 4, Ben Affleck hides his family history. Finding Your Roots is a PBS show in which Harvard professor Henry Louis Gates Jr. presents celebrities with their genealogical histories. While a fun concept, it often brings up some uncomfortable truths, including a history of human ownership.
Oh my gosh.
Ben Affleck learned that one of his distant ancestors took part in this controversial history. But this bit of information was omitted from the episode, at the goading of Affleck himself. He had persuaded the producers to cut that segment from the episode, and this was revealed during the infamous Sony email hack of 2015.
I was embarrassed. The very thought left a bad taste in my mouth. I regret my initial thoughts that the issue of slavery not be included in the story.
Both Affleck and PBS were fiercely criticized for their lack of editorial integrity. But seeing as he's gained a bunch of leading roles since then, his omission didn't seem to affect him. Number 3, Matthew McConaughey's odd arrest.
Way back in October of 1999, McConaughey was arrested at his home in Austin, Texas for the possession of marijuana and drug paraphernalia. Reportedly, McConaughey was in the nude and playing on a set of bongos around 3 a.m., and police were brought in on a noise complaint.
I'd offer you a seat, but don't mention it, I can't stay.
During the arrest, McConaughey reportedly resisted when told by one officer to put on a pair of pants, and is said to have shoved the cop. Thankfully, nothing really came of this incident as the actor only spent one night in jail, and no charges were filed. Considering how strange the details around the arrest sound, it's surprising that nothing more was made of it.
It's like we've forgotten who we are now.
Number 2, Reese Witherspoon's police encounter.
Just tell him the alibi.
No.
We're gonna lose this case if you don't.
Well, then we're not very good lawyers.
In 2013, Witherspoon was arrested in Atlanta for disorderly conduct. Witherspoon was drunkenly mouthing off to a police officer after her husband was pulled over after being suspected of driving under the influence. Embarrassed by her own behavior that night, Witherspoon owned up to it, pled no contest, and paid more than $300 in court costs and a fine.
And it's just completely unacceptable, and we are so sorry and embarrassed, and
The Oscar-winning actress made the talk show rounds to apologize for the incident, and shortly after, everyone forgot about it. Then Witherspoon went back to playing characters who were agreeable role models as if nothing happened.
this is so wild!
Number 1, Rob Lowe's tape.
My body's like a microchip. A grain of sand could destroy it. My body's a microchip.
During a stay in Atlanta for the 1988 Democratic National Convention, Rob Lowe reportedly had sex with at least one young woman and possibly another woman of legal age. How do we know? A sex tape was leaked. While Lowe was 24 at the time, his partner was at a questionably young age.
The tape, which also showed Lowe and one of his friends performing sex acts with a model in Paris, was widely circulated. It was all over the news, and many predicted that his career was over. Though it certainly slowed his momentum, he's undeniably bounced back.
The man has never been out of work, even after that whole debacle on, never mind. Now Rob is directing and starring in a new movie for Lifetime.
The actor has since gone on to take roles in popular TV shows like The West Wing and Parks and Recreation, and hasn't been typecast as creepy Rob Lowe.
I'm Rob Lowe, and I have DirecTV.
And I'm super creepy Rob Lowe, and I have cable.
Okay, get ready, because no stone will be left unturned in our next video. That's because we're looking at cheating scandals in various competitions, where rules were definitely not followed.
He seems somewhat disturbed here by what just happened.
Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 worst cheating scandals in competitions.
I could take a polygraph test, but I don't think that it would measure anything concrete.
For this list, we'll be looking at infamous folk that decided to break the rules when competing for a prize in a wide variety of competitive events. Have you ever cheated to win something? We might have during a few family games of Monopoly. Number 10, Bloodgate. In a Heineken Cup quarterfinal in 2009, rugby union side Harlequins were losing to Leinster. However, their fly half Nick Evans had to be subbed after getting an injury. Then, his replacement was injured, meaning Tom Williams had to come on. But now, the team had no standout kicker. That was until Williams began bleeding from the mouth and was replaced with Evans.
Who punched Tom Williams in the mouth? Tom Williams?
As it turns out, there was nothing wrong with the winger. Williams had bitten a blood capsule to make it appear as though he sustained a real injury.
During a break in play, Williams was called over by the club physio. Steph came onto the pitch and told me to change positions with David Strettle. At this point, Steph handed me a blood capsule. I instinctively placed the capsule in my sock, as there was nowhere else to put it.
Williams was banned for 4 months on appeal, and the director of rugby, Dean Richards, was suspended for 3 years.
Listen, I took full responsibility for it. I mean, it's a farcical situation, it really was.
Number 9, Deflategate. During the 2014 AFC Championship game between the New England Patriots and Indianapolis Colts, officials found the balls used by the former were underinflated by the league's standards.
This is the play that led to the discovery of what is being dubbed Deflategate. This second quarter play has led to many questioning the integrity of the AFC champs.
This apparently happened on the orders of legendary quarterback Tom Brady, who denied involvement. Allegedly, he liked the football to be smaller for better grip when throwing.
Get the snap, I drop back, I throw the ball. You know, I grip it and I try to throw the ball. That's the extent of the, me touching the football. So I don't sit there and, try to squeeze it and determine that. If that's what the Colts want to do, then that's what they want to do. After months of investigations, the NFL came down hard on the Patriots and Brady. The team was fined $1 million in docked draft picks. Meanwhile, Brady, after a successful appeal was turned over, was eventually suspended for 4 games in 2016.
But now some saying this punishment is sending a very clear message to the rest of the league.
Number 8, Counterban. The game Counter-Strike can be a hotbed for gamers cheating in online play, but to do it during a live competition with officials and cameras everywhere? Well, that's not the brightest idea. In 2018, the Optic India team took part in the Extremes Land Zowie Asia CSGO tournament. But in their second match, something was wrong. Nikhil Forsaken Kumawat was way too good. So an official went to check out his computer. They discovered the gamer had been using an aimbot to take out the opposition. He was immediately kicked from the tournament, as was Optic India. The team dissolved due to the controversy, and Kumawat was banned from professional competitions for 5 years. Number 7, something fishy.
We got weights and fish! Get the out of here!
Not even the humble sport of fishing is free of people trying to break the rules to grab some cash. In 2022, a viral video showed a peculiar incident at the Lake Erie Walleye Trail. Usually, 5 walleye fish will weigh around 20 pounds. Fishermen Jacob Runyon and Chase Kaminsky collection came to a whopping 34 pounds. Officials opened up their suspicious catches and found weights had been inserted into them, increasing their weight.
From then on, it's a mob calling foul in a way only true fishermen can.
It immediately called into question the duo's previous wins, racking up thousands of dollars in prize money. In October 2022, Runyon and Kaminsky pleaded not guilty in court to various felonies, including attempted grand theft.
Kaminsky and Runyon are also at risk of losing the chance to enjoy fishing, even just as a pastime.
Misdemeanor of the fourth degree by operational law, their fishing license would automatically be surrendered.
At the time of writing, the case is still ongoing.
That's a fish story you don't want to tell anyone, right? You know, I was thinking.
I knew you were going to have something.
Well, my thing was when you think about fish, those are not the kind of scales you're thinking about. Yeah. Right?
Number 6, calling a bluff.
What?
Whoa!
Look at
Beyond appearing in Survivor Cagayan in 2013, Garrett Adelstein has also made an impressive career as a pro poker player, collecting prizes worth tens of thousands along the way.
You're the pro. So you're the pro.
But a Hustler Casino live stream in September 22 was a bad day in the office for him. With just him and an amateur player, Robbie J. Liu, left in, Adelstein went all in, and Liu caught him, making the pot a massive $269,000.
I call.
She calls?
I
prefer once, but it's up to you. Yikes.
Oh my God.
Statistically speaking, the pro seemed likely to win. However, Liu somehow beat his hand, leaving him stunned.
That is super, super strange. You can see his reaction.
Adelstein soon accused Liu of cheating. Off camera, Liu gave Adelstein back the cash he lost, which he took as a sign of guilt. Meanwhile, Liu released her polygraph test results, indicating her innocence. Number 5, chess cheat. In September 2022, the chess world erupted into turmoil when reigning world champion Magnus Carlsen resigned after one move against Hans Niemann in the Julius Baer Generation Cup.
What happened? That's it?
This on top of previous shock loss by the Norwegian that decided to break the rules when competing.
He pointed to Niemann's unusual mannerisms during the game he lost to the American.
Chess.com soon confirmed that he had previously gotten into trouble in the past due to breaking their rules in 100 matches. Wide variety of competitive events. Have you ever cheated to win something? We during a few family games of Monopoly, but let us know yours down in the comments.
It's a targeted attack, and if you look at my games, this is not, it has nothing to do with my games.
In response, he issued a $100 million libel lawsuit against Carlsen, Chess.com, and chess grandmaster Hikaru Nakamura. Number 4, shortcut win. At the 1980 Boston Marathon, Rosie Ruiz won the women's division in record-smashing time of 2 hours, 31 minutes, and 56 seconds. Only something was amiss.
Have you been doing a lot of heavy intervals? Someone else asked me that. I'm not sure what intervals are.
Ruiz was seemingly fine and not that tired at the finish line. An investigation examined photos of the race and couldn't find her in them until near the end. Ruiz was accused of being in the crowd near the end stretch, then joined the race.
I believe that maybe after this, whether you prove me guilty or not, which I am not, there will be more coverage of women crossing the finish line during 26 miles. It's not fair.
She was stripped of the win as well as her results at the 1979 New York Marathon. Ruiz always denied the allegations.
I know what I did and I will prove it again in the future.
Number 3, dirty dancing. In 2022, the world of Irish dancing was embroiled in a scandal of the promiscuous kind. Allegations surfaced that competition judges had been bribed by teachers at several dancing schools to get their pupils top grades.
Responding, Uncommission said its ethics committee had received allegations with supporting documentation of several grievous breaches of its code of conduct.
Some teachers even offered adult favors. The Irish Dancing Authority, the An Commission La Rinkle Galasha, or the CLRG, began investigating concerns from other teachers and parents when they discovered the massive corruption. Altogether, there were 44 people involved who were soon suspended by the CLRG. Since then, one of those banned has taken the Dancing Authority to court to contest their ban.
But more than that, a lot of people from the world of Irish dancing coming forward and saying this has been an open secret for a long time, and as far as they're concerned, this is just the tip of the iceberg.
Number 2, lie strong. From surviving cancer to beating the most dominant cyclist in the world, Lance Armstrong inspired many kids to get on a bike and pedal away.
Armstrong is coming with an incredible rush, and Cloden has realised it too late. Is there any stopping Lance Armstrong in this Tour de France? And the answer is no.
But then, 2012, after years of rumors, the U.S. Anti-Doping Agency announced Armstrong had been using illegal substances to get an unfair advantage.
UCI will ban Lance Armstrong from cycling, and UCI will strip him of his 7 Tour de France titles. Lance Armstrong has no place in cycling.
While he denied the allegations, he didn't contest his life ban from cycling or his record being sponged after 1998. Then, in an interview with Oprah Winfrey in 2013, he revealed that he had been indeed doping.
Yes or no? Did you ever take banned substances to enhance your cycling performance?
Yes.
Yes or no? Was one of those banned substances EPO?
Yes.
Did you ever blood dope or use blood transfusions to enhance your cycling performance?
Yes.
Did you ever use any other banned substances like testosterone, cortisone, or human growth hormone?
To this day, he doesn't regret it.
If you take me back to 1995, when it was completely and totally pervasive, I'd probably do it again. People don't like to hear that.
That's the honest answer.
Yeah, that's the honest answer. It's an answer that needs some explanation, and it's. I mean, I look at everything. You know, when I made that decision, when my teammates made that decision, when the whole peloton made that decision, like we get it. It was a bad decision in an imperfect time, but it happened.
Number 1, the Black Sox scandal. Coming into the 1919 World Series, the Chicago White Sox were the overwhelming favorites to lift the illustrious trophy over the Cincinnati Reds. Instead, the underdogs pulled off a shock win. But most concerning was the strange behavior and mistakes made by the team.
Sports writer Hugh Fullerton smells a rat. He suggests in the New York Evening World that White Sox players were fixing the World Series. A claim that casts a deep shadow on the national pastime. Shoeless Joe Jackson and 7 other White Sox are accused of taking $5,000 each to throw the series.
After the game, allegations arose that 8 White Sox players had purposely thrown the match as part of a gambling ring organized by mobster Arnold Rothstein. The players were set to earn $100,000 each for throwing the series. With inflation, that's nearly $1.7 million today.
I think the Black Sox players saw a high reward for what they were doing. They could make as much as their yearly salary in 1 week for fixing the World Series. And I think they saw very little risk of getting caught or getting punished.
In 1921, while several players admitted their guilt, all 8 were acquitted after a court case, including legendary great Shoeless Joe Jackson.
He's remembered for what he might have done, and that suspicion that maybe he didn't really do it, or didn't know what he was doing because he was an ignorant Southern boy. Maybe that's what makes him most famous of all.
The story goes that the night that Joe Jackson fell ill with a heart attack, Joe Jackson grabbed his brother David's hand and he said, "Good buddy, I'm going to meet the greatest umpire of all, and he'll judge me innocent."
Also protesting his innocence until the day he died was Buck Weaver. His remaining days on Earth were filled with torment.
When it comes to kids' TV, most people don't think of scandals, nor should they. But sadly, that might change after watching this.
And why aren't you in uniform?
Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 20 shocking kid show scandals.
But if Patty's his sister, then who is Mr. Ratburn marrying?
For this list, we'll be looking at the craziest controversies surrounding shows aimed at children, whether they were warranted or not. Did we miss any scandalous moments? Number 20, Peer Pressure and Drunk Driving, Tiny Toon Adventures. Even for cartoon characters, the dangers of underage drinking are far too real.
So, Plucky, how does it feel to be DWI? DWI, what's that?
And Tiny Toon Adventures didn't shy away from any of it. It's bad enough showing Buster, Plucky, and Hampton sipping on a beer, but it's even worse seeing them get trashed, steal a cop car, and then drive into the aptly named Death Mountain. Suffice it to say, it went a bit too far for a children's-oriented program. In the end, the only thing this PSA accomplished was getting the entire episode banned for over 20 years.
I hope the kids got the message. Yeah, drinking's uncool. So do we get to do a funny episode tomorrow? I hope so.
Nowadays, the segment is readily accessible on streaming and DVD releases. That doesn't make it any more appealing, though. Number 19. Prejudice against Tinky Winky, Teletubbies.
Tinky Winky was very surprised to see Dipsy's hat.
Certain groups out there will go to any lengths to prevent what they perceive as gay advocacy from appearing on television. Unfortunately, back in 1999, the Teletubbies came under their scope.
But now one Teletubby, the little purple figure carrying a handbag, is the target of Jerry Falwell's conservative religious magazine.
Controversy arose when the conservative activist, Jerry Falwell, alleged that the purple character Tinky Winky was a covert gay role model. The reason for this is because, while the character is assumed to be male, he carries around what looks like a woman's handbag.
Uh-oh, Tinky Winky.
Uh-oh, la-la. The BBC and the production company behind Teletubbies clarified that it was simply a magic bag, and Tinky Winky wasn't gay or straight, simply a character in a children's series. Number 18. Bob the Builder drops the F-bomb, Bob the Builder.
Bob the Builder, can we fix it? Bob the Builder, yes we can!
You know whenever you think you hear something, but it sounds like something else? Well, that's precisely what happened to this British, hard hat-wearing staple of children's stop-motion animation. During the Season 2 episode, Wallpaper Wendy, Bob the Builder attempts to decorate the inside of a house to mixed results. During this segment, Bob mumbles as he struggles with the task. These mumbles resulted in some parents claiming to hear the frustrated builder swearing. While it was stated that this mumbling was simply being misinterpreted, the obscure lines were muted for later broadcasts. Number 17. Kermit Gets Fired, the Muppets franchise. Kermit, Miss Piggy, and the others are about as unproblematic as you can get. But the puppeteers behind them are a different story.
Why are you wearing each other's clothes?
If it happens outside of work, we don't owe him an explanation.
For 27 years, Steve Whitmire continued the Muppets' legacy as the performer of several iconic characters, most famously Kermit himself. However, parent company Disney alleged that many of those years were filled with outrageous demands and unacceptable workmanship.
That's insane to hear what you're saying. That's insane.
It reached a tipping point in late 2016 when Whitmire was terminated from the Muppets altogether. He didn't go quietly, though. Whitmire vehemently refuted Disney's story and claimed he was let go over union disagreements and other minor gripes.
And what they really wanted was for me to frame this as I moved on and that I had retired, and it was just disingenuous. I couldn't bring myself to do it.
No matter which side is true, odds are Whitmire won't be returning to Kermit anytime soon.
Movie's over, people. Go home. That is a wrap.
Number 16. Scary Spiders, Peppa Pig. Like most kids her age, Peppa is frightened of arachnids. But with some help from George, she ends the episode Mr. Skinny Legs thinking they aren't so bad. It's a nice message and all. The issue is that some spiders are feared for very good reasons.
Ah! Mr. Skinny Legs is big, isn't he?
For example, in Australia, where there's a whole bunch of creepy crawlies carrying lethal venom. There, the episode drew significant controversy for minimizing the threat of spiders, especially among young, impressionable kids.
Peppa loves playing tea parties.
Here's your tea, Mr. Skinny Legs.
Eventually, the Australian Broadcasting Corporation deemed the episode inappropriate and completely banned it from the country. Apparently, they agreed that spiders are to be feared after all. Number 15. Adoption jokes. You can't do that on television. Ironically, this show's title is exactly what some viewers said about a few of its tasteless jokes. In the episode bluntly titled Adoption, several sketches made very questionable gags at the expense of orphans and foster care.
I don't know if I'm her daughter.
In particular, one scene featured a politician adopting a kid, using him to do chores, and then trying to return him to the orphanage.
Yeah, he's done everything that pretty well had to be done. So, yeah, you come over here and you take him back. What? What do you mean adoption is forever?
Instead of playful, the whole thing came across as mean-spirited and out of touch. So it's no surprise that reportedly, Adoption only aired twice before being yanked off American airwaves indefinitely. Years later, even one of the show's creators admitted that these jokes crossed a line.
How do you get away with it? I don't know. Luck, I guess. Justice at last.
Number 14. Homophobia. Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. In most episodes, these spandex-clad heroes fought the bad guys, learned a lesson, and saved the day. However, behind the scenes, one of them was fighting a very different kind of battle.
This is Billy. All systems go.
In the years since his departure from the series, original Blue Ranger David Yost has revealed that he faced intense homophobia on the set of the hit 90s program.
Basically, I just felt like I was continually being told I'm not worthy of where I am because I'm quote-unquote a gay person and I'm not supposed to be an actor and you can't be a superhero.
Eventually, the constant ridicule forced Yost to exit the show without even filming a goodbye. Instead, Power Rangers used archival recordings and a ham-fisted aging plotline to write Billy out without his actor.
I've made a really important decision. I'll miss you all, but I'm going to stay here on Aquatalk with Sestria. I think I finally found someone I can really relate to.
I knew you would, Billy.
Knowing all that Yost endured makes revisiting this franchise early days much more difficult. Number 13. A different kind of street. Sesame Street. On October 16th, 2011, Elmo and the others woke up to some very unwelcome guests in their neck of the woods.
Is Big Bird feeling okay?
Oh, I don't know. My tummy feels a little like there are butterflies in it.
Someone had hacked Sesame Street's official YouTube page and replaced the kid-friendly content with videos for a much, much older audience.
Hey, what's going on?
And that's putting it lightly. Before you ask, no, apparently none of them included Sesame Street characters.
That's not Sesame Street.
The only silver lining is that the lewd content was presumably only live for about 20 minutes. Afterward, the channel was taken down and later reverted back to the rightful owners. Thankfully, Sesame Street's YouTube page has stayed safe for all ages ever since. Number 12. LGBTQ+ content. The Arthur franchise. On two separate occasions, this classic cartoon went out of its way to normalize same-sex couples.
These are our frogs. Fifi loves to eat. She eats almost all the food, and these are all pictures of our family.
The first instance occurred in 2005, when the spin-off postcards from Buster came under fire for depicting children with two mothers.
So Gillian's your mom too?
She's my stepmom.
Boy, that's a lot of moms.
Even though there was no use of the word lesbian, it was still banned from several American television stations. The flagship series faced similar resistance in 2019 when Mr. Ratburn married another man. Once again, there were little to no overt references to the same-sex aspects of the storyline.
But if Patty's his sister, then...
Who is Mr. Ratburn marrying?
But sadly, that didn't stop the state of Alabama from refusing to air the episode altogether. Number 11. Cancelled creator, The Loud House. In the middle of its highly rated second season, this show made some noise for all the wrong reasons. The series creator, Chris Savino, was abruptly terminated from Nickelodeon following several long-standing sexual misconduct allegations. A week later, Savino owned up to his actions and expressed regret over how he handled the situation. Since The Loud House was based on the experiences of its creator, many were skeptical about how it would continue without him. Luckily, the show bounced back from this PR disaster with more laughs than ever before. Even without Savino, The Loud House has continued to thrive.
We've done a little restructuring, and from now on, we're calling the shots.
Number 10. War and Conflict, Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. It's somewhat poetic that an arc named Conflict so thoroughly lived up to its name. It all started in 1983 when Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood spent a whole week's worth of episode discussing the realities of war, death, and violence.
I'm glad I didn't live there.
I am too. I wouldn't like to live where they're having a war.
We've never had a war here in Make-Believe, have we?
No, not that I know of. There's no mention of war in this neighborhood.
To be fair, the show was no stranger to tackling difficult subject matter. But this frank examination of the current political climate was simply too much for some. Conflict aired for the last time in 1996, and since then, it's been left out of just about every official release of the show.
But we've never had a war here, have we?
Well, not that I know of.
Have we, Daddy?
Have we what, son?
We've never had a war in this neighborhood, have we?
No, we haven't. But why do you ask?
Well, we were studying about countries and wars and things like that at school, and Miss Cow said she thought we never had a war here.
If it weren't for fans spearheading a restoration effort, there's a chance these controversial episodes would have been lost to time. Number 9. Identity Panic, SpongeBob SquarePants.
And why aren't you in uniform? It's about time you got here!
Here you go, Your Majesty.
Who lives in a pineapple under the sea? SpongeBob SquarePants. And who is also supposedly a secret gay advocate? Potentially everyone's favorite underwater sponge. In 2005, a wide range of popular children's shows collaborated for a charity music video. Sponsored by the We Are the Family Foundation, it sought to promote diversity and tolerance in the spirit of Sister Sledge's We Are Family.
We are family.
Get up now. Get up and sing.
We are family. Come on, party up, big purple.
My brothers and my sisters and me.
Cool, right? But no, upon its release, conservative religious groups attacked the organization. While series creator Steven Hillenburg had denied that SpongeBob was gay years earlier, he stated that he considered the character, quote, somewhat asexual. So much for a faux morality panic.
I sense no danger here. How could they be dangerous? They're covered with free cheese!
All I know is Mr. Krabs said, Patrick, don't do that!
Cheesy. No danger here.
Number 8. Controversial tweets. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Whenever you're an actor for a children's show, there is a common expectation that you'll have a somewhat tame public image. However, it seems that Jason Biggs, who played Leonardo in TMNT, didn't get the memo.
And you're always whining. Poor me. Nobody understands me.
Well, you don't understand. And, oh, you don't keep your back straight when doing omote kote gyaku. And you're ugly.
And gassy.
Stop it.
Oh, you talk so tough, but inside you're just a scared little baby.
Who needs his bottle?
And his diaper changed. What's the matter, Raph? Gonna cry?
The actor shared his thoughts on Twitter about the Republican National Convention and the private parts of Ann Romney, Paul Ryan, and Jana Little.
You gotta control your temper. Until then, we just can't trust you.
Sorry, Raph.
Nickelodeon quickly apologized for the comments, and the incident led to Jason being replaced on the show from season 2 onwards.
Dude, this is awful. And you guys complained about space heroes.
Their lips don't even match what they're saying. I could never watch a show this bad.
There are too many of them.
Number 7. Potential Islamophobia. Fireman Sam.
Just one more report to go.
Careful, Elvis.
Children's cartoons are mostly expected to contain lessons about moral and societal values, but this incident may make you consider if Fireman Sam was secretly preaching intolerance. This episode of the British animated cartoon first aired in 2014, but the error only came to light in 2016.
I won't slip! I think I'd better get a new box.
One of the characters enters a room and slips on some papers, one of which looks like a page from the Quran. Mattel came out saying it was an unfortunate error when a member of the production company thought they were putting scribbles on a page. Despite the apology, people were up in arms about it on social media.
And I'll get a mop.
Number 6. Censored Dance, Steven Universe.
What can I do for you? What can I do that no one else can do? What can I do for you? What can I do for you?
In a show that includes a lot of LGBTQ+ themes, you would think that the network that commissioned it would want to maintain that vision around the world. Apparently not in the United Kingdom. During the episode We Need to Talk, the characters Rose Quartz and Pearl dance romantically with each other. If you saw this in the US, you would have gotten the whole dance, including a moment where the two are very close to each other. But if you saw it in the UK, you instead would have gotten some alternative close-ups omitting that small segment. Fans were outraged, but Cartoon Network stood by their decision, saying that it was in line with the UK rating system.
I can't believe I got that on video! What on earth was that?
Number 5. Post-Troubles, Blue Peter.
The 20th century is almost over, and it will be remembered for the way in which scientific discoveries transformed the lives of the people who lived through it. One of the most remarkable of those discoveries is allowing us to speak to you from a television studio in London right now.
When a show is framed as family-friendly, the cast and crew are under a lot of scrutiny. This is the case for Blue Peter, the longest-running children's TV series globally, which has had its fair share of hiccups. In 2007, a Blue Peter editor was fired after the show rigged a cat naming contest, but this was far from the most troublesome issue. One of the most notable involved former presenter Richard Bacon, leading up to Blue Peter's 40th anniversary in the late 90s. Tabloids revealed that Bacon reportedly did cocaine during his tenure on the show.
You'll no doubt have heard that Richard is no longer on the programme.
Yes, he agrees he had to leave, and like you, we are really going to miss him. Thank you for all your letters and emails that have been flooding in.
Yep. We'll see you on Friday, so until then, take care.
See ya.
Bye.
This revelation sparked media outrage, prompting a response from the head of children's programming at the BBC, resulting in him being let go from the program.
I got fired for punctuality. Because if you take a lot of coke, you're always late for things, so...
Number 4. Flashing images cause mass mania. Pokemon. When companies translate a foreign cartoon to English, sometimes they choose to censor certain bits, like a particularly infamous joke during a beach episode in this show's season 1. Unfortunately, something got left in another time. During the Pokemon episode, Electric Soldier Porygon, Ash and the gang get stuck inside a machine and have to fight Team Rocket and Porygon. Towards the end, an explosion animation featured red and blue flashes happening in quick succession, which triggered seizures in children with epilepsy. And then the news of it reportedly created mass hysteria. It of course wasn't the intention of Japanese animators to harm anyone, and us either, which is why we're not going to show the scene in question, but the episode was understandably pulled from broadcast.
なんだこりゃどうしたんですか今のショックでシステムにエラーがなんですってすぐにシステムの修復をそれと今のコマンドは使用禁止です転送システムを壊しては元も子もありません
Number 3. Dan Schneider's Legacy. Various. In 2018, Nickelodeon parted ways with one of their most prolific creators of all time. But despite his resume, odds are Dan Schneider will only be remembered for the mountain of allegations levied against him. While Nickelodeon's firing only explicitly cited his quick temper, many insiders have come out accusing Schneider of repeated sexual harassment. This included former iCarly star Jeanette McCurdy, who spent a section of her memoir detailing her harrowing experiences with someone only referred to as the creator.
Hey, I'm Carly. I'm Sam. And we like to draw families on our toes. Observe! Uh-oh. Earthquake!
Given the extent of the charges, many fans have also pointed to scenes in Schneider's work that have not aged well at all. As a result, it's unlikely Schneider or his legacy will ever recover. Number 2. Elmo actor allegations. Sesame Street.
Oh, hi, Abby. Hi. Hi. What's Abby doing? Coloring. Oh, wow, it's pretty. Oh, you missed this back. Huh? Oh, you see it? Yeah. Ah, great. That's it.
Sesame Street can't seem to get a break when it comes to controversies. In one instance, a controversy arose over celebrity guest Katy Perry's dress during a music video, causing the segment to be removed. Then there's the already mentioned hacking of their YouTube channel. All parents really want is to make sure that their children are safe watching these shows, so when dangerous claims are made, it can cause panic. Kevin Clash, the actor behind the popular Sesame Street character Elmo, had several extremely serious allegations of sexual impropriety leveled against him in 2012. These claims garnered a lot of media attention, and despite the accusations eventually being legally dismissed, Clash left the series.
Come on, Abby. Let's go fly the airplane. Okay.
Number 1. Terrible reality. Kid Nation. There are reasons why there are stringent laws and regulations regarding children working in the film and television industry. Sure, it might make for exciting programming, but the aim isn't to scar them for life. The cash prize reality show Kid Nation sent a group of 40 children of various ages into the desert, challenging them to create a functioning society. The crew was informed to be as little involved as possible, allowing these vulnerable kids to experience genuinely distressing events.
I'm really homesick. I think I'm way too young for this.
I think he's more mature than a lot of other kids.
Yeah. It's scary.
Do you want to leave this entire experience and go back home?
Jimmy, come on. Jimmy! Come on, Jimmy, you're doing a good job. Yeah.
The disturbing premise resembles William Golding's novel, Lord of the Flies, and audiences agreed. Unfortunately, the parents were apparently poorly informed regarding what was involved, and the backlash meant it only lasted one season.
It sounds like they didn't clue you in on much then.
Yeah, I also probably wasn't listening very well, because I was 8.
It's now time to uncover some corporate corruption that not only rocked the public, but entire economies.
One thing that I hope we can achieve, it is to create an environment where our employees can come in here and realize their potential. It's a wild ride.
Welcome to WatchMojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the most sensational and consequential scandals that rocked the corporate world.
Any one of us could be put in those situations.
He's a former employee. It could be me.
I was shocked.
Number 20, Waste Management's accounting fraud. About 30 years after its founding, Texas-based Waste Management found itself in the crosshairs of the SEC. After decades of rapid growth, the company's stock price had begun to stall. To sustain their expansion, executives resorted to accounting fraud, artificially inflating their profits by $1.7 billion. These unethical practices enriched the top brass at Waste Management with bonuses and perks, while defrauding their shareholders of over $6 billion. The accounting firm Arthur Andersen, notorious for its involvement in the Enron scandal, which we'll get to later, had also assisted Waste Management in covering up the fraud. The firm paid an unprecedented $7 million penalty, while Waste Management coughed up over $450 million to settle a class action lawsuit by its shareholders. Number 19, Siemens Greek bribery scandal. International sporting events like the Olympics and the World Cup are magnets for greedy individuals and corporations. The 2004 Olympic Games in Athens, Greece were no exception. In the years leading up to the Games, Siemens AG, a huge German telecoms conglomerate, saw the opportunity to make mountains of money. The company allegedly bribed a number of Greek officials up to 100 million euros in order to secure lucrative telecommunications contracts.
It's a difficult case in a certain way, because it has very strong international implications, because it poses an entire series of legal problems concerning possible bribes abroad.
This scandal rocked the small Mediterranean country and resulted in the indictment of several Greek officials, although most were acquitted in 2022. It was the first domino in a series of corruption scandals, shattering confidence in the Greek government and triggering over a decade of political instability. Number 18, Barclays and the LIBOR scandal. Financial investigations in the post-Great Recession era revealed shocking amounts of corruption across multiple sectors, particularly in banking. A 2012 investigation into the London Interbank Offered Rate, or LIBOR, unearthed widespread market manipulation. LIBOR represents a set of interest rates based on submissions by big international banks. As it turns out, those banks, led by Barclays, colluded to manipulate those interest rates. And by doing so, they increased profits and mitigated losses on derivative trading. After protracted negotiations with financial regulators in the UK and the US, the British bank was forced to pay nearly $550 million in fines and restitution.
So the suggestion that LIBOR may have been manipulated could already have caused very serious consequences.
In the years that followed, other banks like UBS and RBS would face similar consequences.
Even what the SFA put out shows that it was systemic at UBS, that many dozens of people knew about it, that the emails were flying around without anybody really caring that. I think that anybody would read these emails one day.
Number 17, Parmalat. Parmalat began as a small family Italian farm in 1961. By the end of the 20th century, it had over 200 subsidiaries in nearly 50 countries. Dealing with financial headwinds in 1990, they turned to white-collar crime under the leadership of founder Callisto Tanzi. Parmalat engaged in various forms of fraud and money laundering. They created fake transactions through double billing to inflate their profits, then leveraged these as collateral to borrow money from banks. Additionally, they colluded with investment bankers and auditors to hide their debt from investors.
I think this is going to make people hesitant about dealing with Italian companies.
When auditor Deloitte & Touch refused to endorse Parmalat's financial statements in November 2003, the writing was on the wall. A month later, the company was declared insolvent and Tanzi was arrested. Number 16, Bre-X gold mining scandal. The mining arm of this Canadian company shot to prominence in 1995 when it was claimed it had discovered a huge gold store in Indonesia.
This stock will do well and we can't lose. Not true. We lost everything.
The resulting increase in stock price saw Bre-X Minerals Limited make over $6 billion in Canadian dollars. But the bottom line was that it was all based on a lie perpetuated by geologist Michael de Guzman. The fraud came to light when de Guzman reportedly took his own life in March of 1997. Further analysis of the mining site revealed there to be insignificant amounts of gold, which ultimately sent the company into bankruptcy. Although little money was recovered for those who were misled, the scandal did result in significant changes to Canadian legislation with respect to professional geology.
In spite of class action lawsuits, not one investor has ever been compensated. A harsh reality for thousands of ordinary people who invested their life savings in Bre-X.
Number 15, Lance Armstrong and the Livestrong Foundation. It's hard to picture today, but Lance Armstrong was once an international sporting icon.
Armstrong is coming with an incredible rush, and Cloden has realised it too late. Is there any stopping Lance Armstrong in this Tour de France? And the answer is no.
The cyclist's story was inspirational. He overcame testicular cancer to win the Tour de France 7 years running. His nonprofit, then known as the Lance Armstrong Foundation, raised $400 million to help cancer patients, mostly through their signature yellow wristbands. There was only one problem. It was a nonprofit empire based on lies. Armstrong had admittedly used performance-enhancing drugs for years and encouraged other cyclists to do so.
Yes or no? Did you ever take banned substances to enhance your cycling performance?
Yes.
Yes or no? Was one of those banned substances EPO?
Yes.
He was stripped of his Tour de France titles and kicked out of the company, which rebranded as the Livestrong Foundation. Despite cutting ties, Livestrong lost many of their corporate sponsorships and has spent a decade trying to rebuild. Number 14, the Deepwater Horizon oil spill. The major oil company known as BP may already have had a famously poor environmental record, but this disaster was the worst in the history of the petroleum industry.
This isn't a terribly difficult calculation to perform, so for some reason they didn't perform it or they didn't know how to perform it.
11 people were killed in the initial explosion of the Deepwater Horizon oil rig in the Gulf of Mexico in 2010, but humans and animals continue to feel the detrimental effects of 210 million U.S. gallons of oil flowing into the sea. The company was hit with charges that amounted to $20.8 billion in fines for their gross negligence and willful misconduct. However, whether this amount of money is capable of reversing the environmental damage remains to be seen.
The legacy of Deepwater Horizon will be to show how important science is in making decisions that help society meet these challenges and keep this region vital and safe and resilient for generations to come.
Number 13, the Freddie Mac home financial scandal. If the housing market crash were a mining disaster, the Freddie Mac scandal was the canary in the coal mine. Freddie Mac is a federally backed mortgage lender based in Virginia. 4 years before the collapse of the entire industry, it was discovered that Freddie Mac lied about billions in earnings. As with many companies on this list, Freddie Mac's leaders felt pressured to reflect impressive financial profits. Multiple executives, including the CEO, COO, and CFO, were in on the scheme, colluding to inflate the company's earnings. The SEC investigation led to a consent decree, forcing Freddie Mac to reorganize their accounting practices. They were also forced to pay a fine of $125 million.
They had one persona that they presented to investors, which said, we're low risk, we're not doing this, we're not doing that. On the other hand, they would go to the government and say, we're doing affordable housing and higher risk loans, and we are getting credit for that.
Number 12, FTX.
I think it's fair to say that by anyone's lights, this is one of the biggest financial frauds in American history.
The rise and fall of Sam Bankman-Fried and FTX was one of the biggest stories of 2022. Bankman-Fried founded the cryptocurrency exchange in 2019 and rode the wave to immense wealth. Within 3 years, he had bought the naming rights to the Miami Heat's arena. However, Bankman-Fried proved to be a less than reliable business person. He misled investors, lied to the government, and secretly diverted customer money into a different firm, Alameda Research.
There are a lot of cases where that's actually explicitly part of the programs and that are
but
happening.
Not here. Here it says that the digital assets may not be loaned to FTX trading. They can't be loaned out.
These illegal practices didn't last long. Bankman-Fried was arrested and put on trial, during which the scope of his fraud was revealed. He had lost billions of dollars, ruining his investors and customers alike. FTX eventually filed for bankruptcy, and Bankman-Fried was convicted of multiple criminal counts, including fraud and money laundering. Number 11, the Bhopal disaster. The death toll of this 1984 disaster in India is claimed to be more than 16,000. But it's unknown how many people actually suffered as a result of the gas leak at the Union Carbide Indian Limited pesticide plant. Former Union Carbide Corporation CEO Warren Anderson was charged with manslaughter by Bhopal authorities, but never had to answer for the disaster as the U.S. refused to extradite him.
I am confident that the victims can be fairly and equitably compensated without a material adverse effect on the financial condition of Union Carbide Corporation.
In 1989, $470 million was paid by UCC to settle litigation, but a lawsuit seeking further compensation for crimes against humanity was dismissed in 2012. Anderson died 2 years later, with the Indian public still feeling as though justice had not been served. Number 10, Tyco International Theft. Dennis Kozlowski and Mark H. Swartz were infamous for their extravagant lifestyles that were built through the success of the security systems company known as Tyco International Limited. And in 2002, they were accused of stealing over $150 million from the business. The then CEO and then CFO contended that the board had authorized these payments as bonuses.
The prosecution accused Kozlowski of granting himself unauthorized bonuses and running hundreds of millions of dollars worth of personal expenses through interest-free Tyco loan programs.
The following trial was something of a sham, but eventually both men were sentenced to up to 25 years in prison during a retrial. Due to the duo's falsification of records, Tyco was forced to pay almost $3 billion to defrauded and likely very angry investors. Number 9. The FIFA corruption case. The governing body for the most popular sport in the world has been dogged by constant accusations of corruption. But in 2015, these suspicions were confirmed. 18 individuals were indicted on charges including money laundering and wire fraud.
We are here to announce the unsealing of charges and the arrest of individuals as part of our long-running investigation into bribery and corruption in the world of organized soccer.
An investigation by the FBI uncovered allegations that several FIFA officials had collected millions of dollars in bribes to award media and marketing rights for the games.
$150 million in bribes were being paid to these officials, including a U.S. sportswear company that paid money to sponsor the Brazilian Soccer Federation. So there's a lot here going on, including a separate investigation now being done by the Swiss.
There was also considerable evidence that similar bribery of top officials had been key in deciding what countries got to host the World Cup tournaments. As a result of the scandal, then FIFA President Sepp Blatter was suspended from the organization and subsequently issued an 8-year ban from any of their activities. Number 8. Theranos and the blood testing illusion. The twisted lies and warped reality of Theranos founder Elizabeth Holmes became the subject of multiple true crime documentaries. Her insane grift became a pop culture phenomenon, fascinating millions. Holmes was a charismatic figure, using her charm to convince top investors and spokespeople of her technical brilliance.
She was named one of Time magazine's 100 most influential people. Wired called her work mind-blowing.
She claimed to have invented revolutionary medical technology, a one-stop analysis machine for blood testing known as the Edison. It was an invention that would change the face of medicine. It was also a complete sham, sold on lies bought by business titans, former presidents, and cabinet secretaries alike.
Because at the end of the day, I wouldn't run them on myself, I wouldn't run them on my family members, and it just didn't make sense that internally we had so little faith in these tests, but we're still resulting them on patients.
Holmes falsified data and kept her lies up until her arrest. She was convicted of fraud in 2022 and sentenced to 11 years in prison. Number 7. Facebook data privacy scandal. After Donald Trump won the 2016 presidential election, a number of Russia-related scandals floated to the surface of public consciousness. One of the largest broke in 2018. Personal data of about 87 million Facebook users had been obtained illegally by the political consultant firm Cambridge Analytica.
They say it was their data and their research that gave President Trump the winning margin.
A whistleblower from the firm confirmed that this data was shared with Russia. Mark Zuckerberg faced congressional inquiries in the US and Europe about Facebook's conduct on this matter. The company later admitted that they knew about Cambridge Analytica's actions and had done nothing to stop them.
The problem was the company was not authorized to have this data, which they got through a Facebook app. This did not help with privacy concerns.
As a result, Facebook's share price plummeted, and they eventually rebranded as Meta, partly to shake off the scandal. In 2022, Meta agreed to a $725 million settlement. Number 6. Bernie Madoff's Ponzi scheme. Charles Ponzi was an Italian businessman who invented the most famous fraud scheme in history. He would lure people to invest in a product with promises of massive profits. But there is no product in a Ponzi scheme. New investors just pay off the old ones. Years after Ponzi's death, Bernie Madoff would perfect his setup. Madoff spent decades building a reputation as one of the most successful financiers in the world. He also orchestrated the most elaborate Ponzi scheme in history, swindling thousands of investors of an estimated $65 billion.
Prosecutors claim that he lost some investors' money on bad trades. Then he tried to hide it all by replacing some of that with cash from new investors who were coming in. Apparently, the scheme unraveled last week when clients asked for about $7 billion in redemptions and Madoff couldn't cover the requests.
When his scheme collapsed, he had destroyed numerous businesses and families, including his own. In 2009, Madoff received a sentence of 150 years in prison and forfeited $170 billion in restitution.
I asked him if he was depressed, and he said, yes, but the fact that I am functioning troubles me a great deal. You can't do what I've done without guilt.
Number 5. The Lehman Brothers bankruptcy. The 2008 financial crisis was a tough time for reckless investment banks, as Bear Stearns found out. But the Lehman Brothers collapse was the economic event's greatest victim.
Lehman also had a hand in securing America's high-risk subprime mortgages, believing that the popularity and sheer volume of those loans would net huge gains. But it didn't. Borrowers saturated the U.S. housing market, taking on enormous mortgages in spite of poor credit history. As the economy cooled, Americans found themselves with less cash to spend. Higher fuel prices did not help. The result was that more Americans began missing their monthly mortgage payments.
The financial services firm's leveraging of borrowed money caused the biggest bankruptcy in U.S. history in 2008. It didn't take long for the company to fizzle out of existence in a rapid decline that enhanced the economic devastation of the ongoing crisis. News emerged that executives increased their pay just before the bankruptcy, and that accounts had been altered to hide the bank's poor financial position. This case stands as the perfect example of the culture of excess causing worldwide suffering for billions of people.
This is a pain that will stay with me for the rest of my life. That's all.
Number 4, the Health South accounting scandal. With enough greed, fraudsters can turn any industry into a criminal enterprise. In 1986, Aaron Beam and Richard Scrushy took their chain of rehabilitation hospitals, Health South Corporation, public after enticing Wall Street with promises of substantial growth. Over the next decade, Health South expanded nationwide, boasting 40,000 employees and landing in the Fortune 500. As growth waned, however, Scrushy turned to fraud. He and his executives cooked the books and massively inflated the company's earnings.
Told us his top financial officers committed the fraud without his knowledge.
You have to rely, you have to trust people. You have to believe, you have to delegate. I mean, you hire them, you pay them good salaries, you expect them to do the right thing. And I signed off on the information based on what was provided to me and what I was told.
You say you didn't keep track of the accounting.
CEOs don't do that. CFOs do that. Chief Financial Officer means he is the Chief Financial Officer.
Additionally, Scrushy sold $75 million in shares right before an anti-fraud law went into effect. He faced 2 criminal trials in the state of Alabama before being convicted and sentenced to nearly 7 years in prison. He was eventually ordered to pay almost $3 billion in damages. Number 3, the WorldCom accounting fraud.
WorldCom Incorporated executives Scott D. Sullivan and David F. Myers were charged with 7 counts of securities fraud.
WorldCom, a telecom giant destroyed by a massive accounting fraud. At the heart of the fraud, Controller David Myers, a former Ernst & Young senior manager.
This telecommunication corporation held the record for the biggest bankruptcy in 2002, before the Lehman Brothers collapse took its unwanted title 6 years later. Throughout the early 2000s, the company was utilizing a complex scheme of adjusting its books to hide the considerable losses. By 2003, it's thought that their total assets had been fraudulently inflated by around $11 billion. In 2005, former CEO Bernard Ebbers was convicted of various types of fraud that would keep him behind bars for 25 years, a sentence many would say was befitting someone who deceived so many. Number 2, the Volkswagen emissions scandal.
But the CEO, addressing some 2,000 employees and speaking publicly, made no bones about it. This is going to be painful and it's going to be complicated. So they're going to take place throughout the calendar year of 2016, and they hope to wrap it up within a year, but there's no guarantee on that.
In this case of fraud, it was discovered that one of the biggest car manufacturers in the world was using software to falsify emission test results, with an estimated 11 million of its vehicles being affected. It was eventually revealed that the company had installed illegal software in the cars that allowed them to bypass environmental regulations. In doing so, they violated the Clean Air Act, potentially putting human lives at risk.
In other words, there was no way this was accidental because the software was designed very carefully to detect an official emissions test. That's some pretty serious deception, and that's why Volkswagen is in such serious trouble. In fact, their CEO, Martin Winterkorn, just stepped down. So what happens next? Well, if you own one of the 500,000 diesel Jettas, Beetles, Golfs, Passats, or Audi A3s affected, the good news is that your car is still safe to drive. You don't have to put it away until Volkswagen.
These revelations had implications all over the world, with Volkswagen receiving hefty fines in multiple countries. In total, the company paid over $33 billion to clear off these fines, as well as financial settlements and buyback costs. However, the actual effects of this scandal remain unknown. Number 1. The Enron scandal. In the space of a month or so, this energy giant went from being one of the biggest companies in the world to bankrupt. What set the scandal apart from the relatively common instances of accounting fraud were the failures of accounting firm Arthur Andersen LLP, which neglected to report Enron's crimes and led to the firm's own dissolution.
I don't understand how upper management would allow...
It's because Enron actually used the same estimates in their earning reports, which magically transformed themselves into revenue, which translates directly into higher stock prices for investors.
And higher bonuses and stock option payouts for execs.
Everybody wins.
The sheer scale of Enron's fraudulent activity is difficult to comprehend, as it allowed the business to pretend it was running at $100 billion in revenues through the use of loopholes and poor financial reporting. Many critics believed that such recklessness was particularly abhorrent for an energy company, and that those involved deserved their harsh sentences.
Because like most things that end terribly, it didn't start out that way. It started with a lot of people who thought they were changing the world, and over time they became victims of their own hubris, victims of their own greed, and so it's like taking so much promise and possibility and looking at it in a mirror and seeing the flip side reflected back at you.
I think the larger lesson was what Enron asked of its employees, which was ask why. And, you know, I didn't ask myself why enough. I didn't ask managers why enough. I didn't ask my colleagues why enough.
Okay, I hope you're not getting too scandalized, because our next list is pretty shocking. That's because we're uncovering the ugly truth behind some celebrity sex scandals.
Soon after the news broke, Weinstein was fired from his company and went into therapy.
Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're looking at 10 celebrity sex scandals.
Robert Kelly, R&B superstar, is already convicted in a New York case.
For this list, we'll be taking a look at some of the most shocking sex scandals involving celebrities to ever come to light. We won't be looking at infamous incidents involving politicians, as they deserve their own video. Which of the scandals in the video shocked you the most? Kevin Spacey. Spacey was once one of the most well-respected actors around, with numerous awards to his name, but in 2017, that came crashing down. Anthony Rapp accused Spacey of making a pass at him in 1986 when he was a minor. The American Beauty actor came out as gay when he apologized, which was perceived as an attempt to change the subject and resulted in further backlash.
That statement also drawing criticism from many who say Spacey's apology should not have been tied to the revelation of his sexual orientation.
It led to other alleged victims coming forward, along with complaints about harassment during production of House of Cards. He was ordered to pay $31 million to the producers of the Netflix series.
An arbitrator ruling on Monday that he must pay more than $30 million to the studio.
Spacey was found not liable in the Rapp case, and after facing further charges in a UK trial that began on June 20th, 2023, he was cleared on all counts a month later. Jesse James. In 2010, Sandra Bullock was in Europe to promote her Oscar-winning role in The Blind Side. However, rumors back home emerged that her reality star husband, Jesse James, had been having affairs with numerous women.
At the time, he seemed like the most hated man in America.
Bullock canceled her press tour to deal with the fallout. Soon after, James released a public statement where he apologized for everything, claimed most of the rumors were false, and begged for Bullock's forgiveness. He then checked into rehab, but shortly after, Bullock filed for divorce, and it was soon granted.
Sources tell Us Weekly that Sandra definitely wants a divorce.
Before all this drama came out, Bullock and James were in the process of adopting a child. Since they broke up, Bullock decided to continue with the process and raise Louis alone.
He'd hoped to keep a relationship for the sake of the children, including Louis, the baby Bullock ended up adopting as a single parent.
Tiger Woods. Considered one of the best golfers to ever grace the sport, Woods' life took a downward spiral in 2009.
Despite earlier denials, the star has now admitted he was unfaithful.
After rumors of an affair with nightclub manager Rachel Yucatel, followed by a minor car accident that Woods suspiciously deemed a private matter, the media dug into the golfer's life and found evidence of his adult activities. He was married to Elin Nordegren at the time. Soon after, many women came forward with accounts of affairs with Woods.
I was wrong. I was foolish. I don't get to play by different rules. The same boundaries that apply to everyone apply to me.
He made numerous public statements that admitted his transgressions, and he later had therapy to address his problems. However, this scandal led several companies to drop sponsorship deals with the golfing icon. In 2010, he and Nordegren divorced.
I'm as disappointed as everyone else in my own behavior because I can't believe I actually did that to the people I loved.
Arnold Schwarzenegger. From being a bodybuilder to an actor to governor of California, Schwarzenegger's wife Maria Shriver stood by his side since they married in 1986. Well, in 2011, she suddenly moved out of their home.
At this time, we are living apart while we work on the future of our relationship.
It turned out the Terminator star had fathered a child with their housekeeper, Mildred Patricia Baina, 14 years before. Baina had worked for the family for 20 years. Schwarzenegger claimed he had no idea he was the father until the child started to look like him, which took around 8 years.
But in the end, the boy's looks gave his father away. The physical similarities too tough to ignore.
After this scandal, Brigitte Nielsen, who worked with Schwarzenegger in 1985's Red Sonja, announced she had an affair with the actor while he was seeing Shriver. The Austrian performer eventually confirmed Nielsen's story. In 2021, Schwarzenegger and Shriver officially divorced.
Arnold Schwarzenegger and Maria Shriver are officially divorced, more than 10 years after Maria's initial filing.
Rob Lowe. Back in the 80s, Lowe was one of the hottest rising stars in Hollywood. After all, he was part of the infamous Brat Pack that had members like Molly Ringwald and Judd Nelson. But as the decade neared its end, an intimate tape filmed in Georgia featuring Lowe and 2 women was leaked to the press.
I'd say I have nobody to blame but myself. I really don't.
However, while one of the women involved was the age of consent in the state, she was not the legal age for recording such activities, which was 18, meaning Lowe broke the law. However, the police decided not to press charges against the actor in exchange for him undertaking community service.
In the end, though, no charges were ever filed against Lowe, although he voluntarily did 20 hours of community service.
Regardless, Lowe's film career took a battering for years.
Like people talk about, I think it's the best thing that ever happened to me. Honestly, I do, because it got me sober.
Vince McMahon. Seen as the mastermind behind the rise of turning pro wrestling into an international spectacle by leading the WWE, McMahon's name has gone down in the history books. It seemed likely he would never walk away from the company and enjoy retirement with his wife Linda. That changed in 2022. After several serious allegations in the past, WWE discovered that McMahon had spent $3 million of the company's money to quiet a former employee he had an affair with.
The World Wrestling Entertainment's board of directors is reportedly investigating a $3 million payment from McMahon to a former employee to keep their alleged affair quiet.
As the company investigated further, it turned out McMahon had spent a total of $12 million on numerous women as payment for non-disclosure agreements.
Their big defense is that any money that he paid, any hush money that he paid, was his own money and it was not company money.
With WWE's reputation in tatters, McMahon left the company as its CEO and chairman and eventually retired.
WWE chairman and CEO Vince McMahon is retiring.
Woody Allen. In cinema, Allen is seen as a legend, but his personal life is filled with so much scandal and terrible allegations, and most of it stems from his relationship with Mia Farrow. After their relationship imploded in 1992, a custody battle for their children began. Within it, Allen was accused of assaulting his adopted daughter Dylan Farrow, something that Allen denies. On top of this, Mia Farrow discovered that Allen had embarked on a relationship with her then 21-year-old adopted daughter, Soon-Yi Previn.
The 57-year-old filmmaker and his longtime lover Mia Farrow broke up, and now Allen confirms he is having an affair with Farrow's adopted daughter, who's 21 years old.
Allen and Previn married in 1997. Over the years, the allegations have resurfaced several times, especially after Ronan Farrow's work on the Weinstein case.
7 of Farrow's 9 children are standing with their mother, including son Ronan, whose investigative reporting helped spark the Me Too movement.
Roman Polanski. In 1977, the Oscar-winning director was arrested in California for multiple offenses against a minor. Facing 6 charges, Polanski originally rejected the accusations.
Not much to tell you, except that I'm innocent.
However, when his lawyer made a plea bargain for 5 of the 6 charges, Polanski changed his mind. He was expecting to face time served and probation from the deal. However, when he discovered that the judge planned to throw out the bargain and send him to jail, he went on the run. Polanski took off to France, where he couldn't be extradited back to the US before the final sentencing. Since then, he's continued to make films. Even fellow filmmakers and actors have defended Polanski, but still, several more allegations of assault have followed him over the years.
Polanski has written an apology to Samantha. Now believes he should be left alone.
R. Kelly. For years, allegations had haunted the music career of Kelly, and he was regularly investigated by the police. In 2019, after the release of the documentary series Surviving R. Kelly, the singer was arrested for several charges of abuse.
protesters calling for police action and an end to producing and playing R. Kelly's music.
By the time the case went to court, Kelly was facing 9 charges, including trafficking and assault of minors. In 2021, he was found guilty of all 9 counts and sentenced to 30 years in prison.
Today, they finally got justice.
In Illinois in 2022, Kelly faced court again for more horrific accusations. He was found guilty on several charges. In February 2023, he was sentenced to another year for another charge in Chicago, in addition to the 30 already given.
The jury believed them and found Robert Kelly guilty of those counts.
Harvey Weinstein. He was one of the most powerful figures in Hollywood. His companies produced many award-winning films and raked in millions at the box office. But in 2017, allegations about Weinstein's misconduct were publicized in the media with the Me Too movement.
In October 2017, Harvey Weinstein finally lost control of the story.
This caused an avalanche of accusations, with 87 people coming forward with their encounters with Weinstein. He'd used his position of power to coerce or force actors and filmmakers to do his grim desires. In 2020, he was found guilty of several charges of assault and sentenced to 23 years in jail.
Prosecutors had called Weinstein's criminality something that had been sustained over the course of many, many years.
After being found guilty of more charges in a subsequent trial, Weinstein was sentenced to another 16 years, for a total of 39 years in prison. This investigation caused what's known as the Weinstein effect, where several high-powered men have been accused of assault.
Please don't sentence me to life in prison, he told the court. I don't deserve it.
Okay, we're going to end things today with a video that might surprise you. It's all about the scandals surrounding the current king of YouTube, MrBeast.
If I don't have 1 million subscribers when you see this video, my entire life has been a failure.
Welcome to Watch Mojo. And today we're counting down our picks for the most shocking underground rumors about Jimmy Donaldson, aka MrBeast.
MrBeast has been compared to the Antichrist.
Number 10, animation theft. When MrBeast and his friends spent 7 days stranded at sea, the most difficult part was keeping the video afloat at all.
I didn't realize what I was signing up for.
Shortly after it went live, the challenge was hit with a copyright claim by someone alleging it used a stolen piece of animation, which led to the whole thing being privated.
We've been at sea for 3 days. When have I ever been this excited over canned chili?
For what it's worth, the original animator later stepped forward, admitting that the short 2-second GIF was created for free, non-commercial use. Either way, the video is back online now, and this controversy doesn't seem to have slowed down the video's success either. As of 2023, the MrBeast challenge has well over 170 million views and counting.
I'm getting off this route.
Number 9, appearing on Joe Rogan's podcast. Joe Rogan is a contentious figure, with critics pointing to his spreading of misinformation and use of racial slurs as some of the most problematic things he's done. MrBeast, on the other hand, usually tries to maintain a squeaky clean public image.
Also, my mom told me not to curse. Sorry, Mom. If someone could just edit out the swear words and give it to me.
Sorry, Mom.
Yeah, so I could give it to my mom to listen to. That would be great.
So there was some understandable backlash when the YouTuber sat down for a lengthy chat on Rogan's podcast. Some saw it as MrBeast endorsing Rogan's past behavior. Some saw it as a declaration of his own ideals. And some just saw it as a 2-hour-long think piece on the ever-changing YouTube landscape.
I just had the blessing of finding what I loved at a young age. So, because to get to this level, it takes, a decade.
Whichever camp you fall in, it's clear that MrBeast's time on the show was a lot more trouble than it was worth.
I can't wait to get to show you this.
Number 8. Destroying expensive things for views. The name of MrBeast's game is doing the most insane, crazy thing before you can even think of it yourself.
Oh my God!
Most of the time, that means blowing stuff up, usually in grand, over-the-top fashion. But over the years, MrBeast's indulgent destruction of property has started to raise some eyebrows.
A train is gonna go full speed down those tracks into this giant pit.
While there is some novelty in seeing a Lamborghini dropped into a shredder, many have argued that he could donate those materials instead of destroying them for clicks. However, other fans debate whether that's a fair criticism, considering MrBeast already devotes a significant amount of his time to philanthropic acts, specifically through the side channel aptly named Beast Philanthropy.
So even though we support 5 communities, we're actually doing 10 food drives every single month.
Number 7. MrBeast Burger Bombshells. When MrBeast launched his namesake burgers, hungry viewers lined up for miles to get a taste.
There's no stalling. We're blocking traffic.
Figure it out.
But soon enough, they had the sad realization that the food simply wasn't very good. In fact, some went as far as calling the burgers outright inedible.
Oh, no, that's just disgusting.
After 2 years of diminishing returns, MrBeast quietly attempted to discontinue the brand in 2023. And yet, that's not the end of the story. The burger's poor quality has MrBeast taking his distribution partner, Virtual Dining Concepts, to court,
claiming the poor condition of the food served in his name has damaged his reputation.
In response, they dismissed the accusations and plan to countersue MrBeast. No matter who ends up on top, the fact of the matter is that no one got the meal they wanted.
I'm not gonna lie, I thought owning a restaurant would be easier.
Number 6. Mr. Crypto. In the court of public opinion, a name can go a long way, especially when the name is as well known as MrBeast.
That is 50 pounds worth of money, and that is 50 pounds worth of money.
Allegedly, it all started with an investment. MrBeast backed an innocuous cryptocurrency app. And just like that, eagle-eyed fans followed. But when the refinable app launched at a much higher trade price than expected, the numbers crashed hard.
But you do this and it falls, you lose it all.
Even though MrBeast never publicly advertised the product himself, a certain sect of fans felt like they'd been scammed. On the other side of things, MrBeast's silence on the matter had some theorizing his brand had been used without consent. Regardless, he still had to bear the brunt of the backlash.
I know you're sad and all, but give me my money back.
Number 5. Trouble in the Clubhouse. When MrBeast began an open call in the audio seminar app Clubhouse, he invited any and all fans to join and ask questions.
Really interesting.
Among them was Farouk Sarmad. The catch? Despite making it onto the panel, Sarmad never actually got to speak. Then when the call was cleared to make room for others, MrBeast allegedly booted Sarmad because he couldn't pronounce his name.
Sorry, I'm really bad with names. I'm gonna yoke you as well.
Sarmad quickly took to social media to voice his displeasure at the supposed racism. However, MrBeast fans countered that the internet star's words had been misinterpreted, and Sarmad wasn't actually kicked out over his name. Intentional or not, though, this was one call-out MrBeast could have done without.
Yeah, that was pretty painful.
Number 4. Glorifying Squid Game. When Squid Game debuted on Netflix in 2021, it rolled the cultural zeitgeist all the way to becoming the service's most watched original show ever. Ironically, MrBeast's YouTube remake had similar success, accruing over 500 million views altogether.
Green light. Red light.
However, it didn't come without its fair share of criticism. A vocal portion of viewers felt that milking the show's concept completely missed the point of Squid Game's money-conscious themes, especially considering MrBeast's video was posted with ads on YouTube.
Hey, if no one crosses, I just keep the money.
And yet, the controversy didn't seem to be an issue for everyone else. After just 1 year, the remake has become MrBeast's most watched long-form video of all time, and it's not even close.
Oh, this is the intensity.
Number 3. Creating a toxic work environment. MrBeast is known for his charitable work in the online space, but if these rumors are to be believed, he's a very different person when the cameras aren't rolling.
We make all these mistakes and mess up so many different ways.
Beginning in 2021, 11 former employees came forward accusing the creator of fostering an unhealthy work environment. Their testimonies claimed they were frequently overworked, not credited for their assignments, and demeaned with ableist slurs. Those kinds of accusations don't look good for anyone, let alone someone with a reputation like MrBeast.
And then now here we are with like 400 million followers across everything.
He's never directly commented on the scandal, but it's safe to say it's not the kind of press he would have liked.
The first 6 months you work here, you're useless. And it's fine. You're supposed to be useless.
Number 2. MrBeast is the devil. You'd think that helping people with vision impairment would be an objectively good thing.
Oh man, no cloudiness, no blurriness.
Oh, it's perfect.
But using some wild leaps of logic, a portion of the internet didn't see it that way. While some had genuine concerns about MrBeast's trek into healthcare, Especially some of the misleading claims being made, others thought it made him the actual Antichrist.
Many users started posting viciously, like this one that reads, "He is literally the Antichrist."
We aren't kidding. This radical population pointed out that by performing quote-unquote miracles of sight, MrBeast was following the path of the beast from the book of Revelation. The squabble over the video reached such a boiling point, MrBeast himself had to comment on it. Who knew helping people see again would cause such a fuss?
But maybe they're right. If you spell MrBeast backwards and then add 27 and then multiply by 78 and then play that backwards through a megaphone, it spells out Satan. It's true. Try it.
Number 1. Racism, homophobia, and more. MrBeast has a very, very long history on the internet, and not all of it is good.
By the time you see this, I'll have finished high school, gone to college, probably be doing YouTube as a job, hopefully, maybe.
Even a cursory dive into his social media shows that, at one point, he was very flippant with some extremely unacceptable words. They include those aimed at sexuality, race, cognitive ability, and more. Some of his old videos are just as bad, too.
You think I'm gonna say it?
In recent years, MrBeast has attempted to delete most of those unsavory comments off of his pages. And since then, his content has been noticeably more brand safe. But the fact that MrBeast had to remove old posts at all just shows that this is a part of his history he'd rather forget.
See ya, future me.
Did we miss any scandalous MrBeast moments?
Let's see the damage.
All right, well, that's going to do it for this scandalous special. Thanks for watching. I've been Matt from WatchMojo, and I'll see you next time.